KTAR's political analyst, Dr. Mike O'Neill. Mike, welcome to the show.
Good to see you, Barry.
And we both hit the yeah, there you go. We both listened to the debate. Okay, we both listened to the debate, and I'll tell you, Mike, 90 minutes of both of them keeping it pretty much in control. I think the rules kind of may have benefited President Trump a little bit, but we got 90 minutes of a lot of substantive questions, some substantive answers, and plenty of attacks.
Yeah, the first thing I would say about this debate is you got to set context here. 90% of our population has made up their mind before the debate started, and that 90% is divided roughly equally. So who is the target? It's the remaining 10. They're made up their mind, and I don't think they're going to change. The remaining 10%.
I saw a poll today said it was 17% hadn't made up their mind yet.
Well, I bet you a lot of those are, people like to say they haven't made up their mind, but you follow up and you say, well, I'm kind of leaning this way.
Right.
I mean, depending on how you ask the question, you get different numbers. That sounds awful high to me. But what I'm going to say about that residual is that is not a group. First of all, that is not a group of people that's watching this debate because they are characterized by complete disinterest in politics. They don't know. They don't care. They won't think about this election until October. So they're not watching.
All right.
Now, all they're going to get is some of the ripple back of the discussion. And I will bet you if past history holds, a lot of those people are going to end up not voting. So it's not 10% or 17. It's something way less than that. Now, if you're talking about this debate, I think the first thing, if you look at it in terms of style, forget about the substance for just a minute, but who makes statements that feel stronger? I mean, that's Donald Trump. He speaks in tiny little sound bites. Joe Biden, I saw elements of his stuttering issue. He sounded like he had a little bit of a cold.
Yeah. He came in very. His voice wasn't there when we first started. He was a little quiet. We couldn't hear him, but he seemed to come around. He seemed stiff and
he did get better as the debate went along.
Yeah, he warmed up as he went on. But I
unfortunately for him, impressions usually get set very early.
Yeah, I mean, if people sat and watched the whole debate, they saw him get kind of warmed up and really start going after Trump. But you're right. If they watched the first 5 minutes, first 10 minutes, it wasn't him at his best. But let me ask you something. Was this, for the people who did watch this debate, and let's face it, in today's world, people are going to watch it live, listen to it live here on KTAR, but they're also going to be getting clips of it over the next several days. It's going to be all over social media, clips of both of them. There's going to be hundreds of millions of people are going to see parts of this. And I saw, again, another study that said 65 or 70% of people expect that they're going to watch the debate, but it might be on social media and stuff later. For those people, do you think what we saw today, did either candidate make enough of an imprint to change someone's mind or to get an undecided voter to vote for them?
It depends on what clips you look at. I think Biden, or rather Trump, had a pretty good number of really concise, biting statements. I don't think the vast majority of them, however, will survive a fact check. So if you only hear the statement, and I just wrote down a whole long list of this. It's longer,
This is Biden or Trump?
Trump makes statement like, Biden will destroy this country. Very strong statement, unmeasurable, and it's purely opinion. The border is the most dangerous in the world. I drive that border all the time. There's some problems but it's hyperbole. It's we used to have under him, we had the safest border in the world. It's not fundamentally different from what it was, but he's trying to characterize it. Hundreds of thousands of people killed at the border. I mean, hyperbole in the extreme. So if you take those down, and I've seen a few sites already that have started to look at those in terms of fact checking, you're going to have trouble surviving, but they are red meat for people who already are in the Trump camp. And of course, the people watching this debate, unfortunately, are not people who are trying to make up their mind. They are the people who are already committed, and they're looking for a reason to cheer their guy.
Yeah, and you're right. And look, so in many ways, this was typical Trump in that he just keeps throwing out. It's almost like he's vomiting statements. Many of them are untrue, and it's almost impossible to keep up with it, right? Like he'll talk for a minute or 2 minutes, and there might be 7 or 8 different things in there. How does anybody keep up with all of the lies?
Like I said, I got half a page of these, and I wasn't writing them all down. And a lot of them are just, it comes out of his salesman background. When you make statements that can't be, our country was the greatest in the world when I was president.
Right.
Well, that's an opinion. It's not something that. So there's a number of things that were factually wrong and can be and there were just a number of things that what they call in the sales business called puffery.
Right.
It's just a strong. This is the greatest car in the world. No one's ever been.
Yeah.
Well, you can't say that's untrue because it's not testable. It's an opinion.
Right. So let me ask you, Dr. Mike O'Neill is here, KTAR's political analyst on our post-president debate coverage. And by the way, coming up on the program today, we'll have a panel with a Republican and a Democrat coming up at 8 o'clock. Christine Jones will be with us, a former Republican gubernatorial candidate, and Stacey Pearson, a Democratic operative, will be here to kind of give their breakdown of the debate. But Mike, one of the things that kept coming back up, and Trump kept bringing him up, was General John Kelly, Trump's former chief of staff. His statement, and he said this before, and he said it again more recently, that Donald Trump said, why would I go to a cemetery, the World War I cemetery, when he was president? It's full of suckers and losers, calling people who died, people who joined the military, people who died for their country, calling them suckers and losers. And Joe Biden made that statement, and Trump wouldn't let it go. He actually started saying that Biden made it up, and it was a lie, and it was General John Kelly who said it, and he said it because he was Trump's chief of staff and standing with Trump when he said it.
It was a major mistake of Trump to repeat that because you can believe that they're camped outside of John Kelly's house right now to say, did he say it or not? And I have no doubt in my mind that he will affirm what he said before, that he said it.
Right.
What Trump should have done in that instance is just, as he did in a number of things, just don't touch it. It's radioactive. He made an indefensible statement and just walk away and answer, start talking about inflation or something, because he's going to lose. He loses on that one. They'll do a fact check. They'll do an interview with John Kelly.
Yeah, no, that's not going to go well for him. So let me ask you this. What was the biggest issue in this debate? I know they started with the economy. We kept coming back to the economy. I thought it was interesting. They both seem to take credit for the economy where it's good and blame the other where it's not good, right? So Biden said inflation is because Trump ruined pumped so much money in and with the debt that he had that under Trump we had over $8 trillion in debt, the most of any president in the history of the country. They pointed out during the debate that Biden's debt thus far is a little over $4 trillion. It'll be more before he's finished as president. And Biden blamed that. That's why inflation happened, because of Trump. Trump, of course, blamed Biden. Was the economy the big issue? Was it immigration? Was it January 6th? What was the big issue?
I didn't hear as much about January 6th.
At the end,
it came at the end, but it was certainly the first two.
Yeah.
And it was immigration because Donald Trump tried to answer any question by parlaying into immigration, even if the question was about something unrelated. And in particular, I think he did that if I remember, on January 6th, which he didn't really want to answer. He parlayed it into, the border's out of control and all that. And that's red meat for his folks. And it's an issue. If you look at an issue like inflation, who will do more about immigration? The polls show that more people think that Donald Trump will do better about that. There's other things where Joe Biden do better, and they'd both love to talk about the issues on which they're going to do better. Unemployment, for example, the economy may be mixed or towards Trump, but unemployment is clearly a Biden side issue. Unemployment is historically at extremely low levels.
I didn't really hear Biden say that today, though. Like, I thought he would come out and say that unemployment is at historically low levels. Trump kept saying that under his presidency, the economy was the best it was ever. He kept taking credit for all these things as if the last year of his presidency never happened. Biden did at one point talk about that when he took office, the economy was cratering. That there were 15 million that we were at 15% unemployment.
And people seem to have forgotten that.
Yeah.
But it really was.
Right.
And of course, the response to the economy cratering was for the government to pour money so that we didn't end up in a Great Depression. Now, after the fact, it's real easy to say, "Oh, we shouldn't have spent all that money."
Right, and they both did it. Trump did it during his presidency during COVID, and then Biden did it too.
Biden did not do anything that Trump hadn't already done in that regard.
Both of these presidents, I always say this, had found Ronald Reagan's secret, which is, for the government, borrow as much money as you want when on president, because that's going to jack up the economy and make everything seem better, and let somebody else deal with the debt later.
That's our historical problem, is that basically gets us in a situation where nobody has any discipline, and that is a problem of both sides. All
right, Dr. Mike O'Neill is with us, KTAR's political analyst, and we're here with KTAR's post-presidential debate coverage live on KTAR. Also coming up later in the show, Garrett Archer from Channel 15 is going to be here. He's doing a panel, kind of a focus group panel of folks, Republicans and Democrats and independents, who watch the debate, and he's going to be questioning them. And right when he's finished with that, he's going to be joining us a little bit later on in the show to tell us the reaction of people on different sides of the aisle.
I want to hear from those who are genuinely undecided.
Yeah, we'll see.
That's the really key one.
We're going to have that for you in the next hour. So Mike, let's talk a little bit about the January 6th issue. They did bring it up at the end. Trump tried to avoid it. When it came up at one point during the middle, he talked about something else. He really tried to get away from it. But towards the end, and I will say this, I thought Trump stayed in control of himself and his emotions through about the first hour. The last half hour, he started to revert back to kind of Trump on the stump, Trump in one of his rallies. He went to the conspiracy theories. He went to the stuff he repeats all the time. And with January 6th, he started talking about how the January 6th defendants, so that many of them are innocent, and it's awful what we've done to these people. And he started to talk about that kind of thing again. But not taking credit, not taking a responsibility. And he ducked the question several times, and I give the moderators credit because they kept coming back to him. Will you accept Donald Trump? Will you accept the results of this election? And he said finally he said, I will, but only if it's a
fair, free and fair. In other words, the answer is no.
Right.
Because implicit in that is he gets to decide what's free and fair, and to him it's only free and fair if he wins.
Right. And I wish, and Biden's not the man to do this now in this debate. Again, it's difficult. It's easy to say this in hindsight and sitting here listening to it than being on the stage, because Trump is like a vomit salad of lies. But I wanted somebody to ask him, can you tell us about one case? You filed 90 cases after you lost the election, saying there was fraud, saying the election was stolen. Can you tell us about any one case where evidence was found? And see what he said. He's going to lie again, but
he will talk about something, but it won't be a case, because every one of the cases got thrown out.
Right.
It'll be a rumor. There's 500,000 illegals voted in California. No evidence for that, but the assertion sounds it's real when he's saying it.
Exactly. Now, Trump did talk about the military a lot. Biden did as well. And Trump, again, allegations that the military hates Biden, that's embarrassing, and that the NATO countries, all the leaders of the NATO countries hate Biden and wouldn't be supporting Biden. And
Biden should have punched back on that one, because facts would have helped him there.
Right.
They are basically, he pulled together an incredible coalition, I think the biggest we've ever had. Of course, it was in response to the most outrageous provocation.
Right.
And he should have pushed back on under Biden the contribution of the Europeans to national defense has skyrocketed.
Right, and that's exactly right. And Trump's saying that's only because he was in office, and then when he was in office, he made NATO do that. Hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars that they contributed.
He got very little. It's gone up a lot. Now, was it really Biden? No, it was Putin in Ukraine is the reason why they've increased, but that has happened under Biden's watch.
So
it's not fairly attributed to Biden. It's really situational.
Right.
They perceived a direct personal threat to themselves, and it changed. I mean, countries like Sweden with historical neutrality are in NATO, and they're cranking up their defense budget. They're responding to a very real threat, and Biden's happens to be president. They all take credit for what happens under their watch.
Right, but to say that Trump to say that he got these countries to give NATO, and nobody gives NATO anything, you're just beefing up your own defenses.
Yes.
But that he got them to do hundreds and hundreds of billions more. None of that is true. I mean,
again, you made a side point that it turns out there are no NATO dues.
Right.
We're just saying we would like everybody to spend 2%.
Right.
And they're doing that now, but it's really Biden can claim some credit, but really it's Putin's invasion of Ukraine that has scared everybody in Europe.
What do you think of? What did you think of Trump's response to? He said he said it today that that if he wins election, he actually said, well, he's president-elect. He will have this war wrapped up. He'll have it settled.
He makes a lot of statements like that. He makes two statements that are both completely not subject to being disproved. If I was president, Ukraine would have never been invaded. There's no proof of that.
No, Israel would never have been invaded.
And he would and he says, well, if I'm president, even before I'm inaugurated, I'll have this Ukraine settled. Short of surrender, I don't know that there's any.
No, there's other than giving Putin what he wants. That's not going to happen.
But it's sort of. Somebody needs to challenge a statement like that because there's, I looked at this litany of these statements he made that are very strong sounding, but contraindicated by facts. It's sort of like if the sophisticated part of the audience knows that's not true, but not everybody does.
Right. And that's the secret to Trump in many ways is just say a whole bunch of things that aren't true, and you just keep repeating them over and over again, and eventually people think it's true. That's what it is.
I read a piece on one of the most strong predictors of whether you favor Biden or Trump.
Yeah.
Whether or not you read a newspaper.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna guess which side is which.
Yeah.
Dr. Mike O'Neill is with us. He's KTAR's political analyst. It's KTAR's post-presidential debate coverage. Coming up, Christine Jones and Stacey Pierce are going to join us from the right and the left, and we'll get their analysis of this. Mike, a lot of talk going into this about how Biden would come across, the complaints about his age, the Republicans and MAGA and Trump, basically saying he doesn't know how to put his pants on, he drools on himself, he wanders off. Did this debate, did it help Biden? Did it not help Biden? What do you think?
I think on style he suffered a little bit from that. Trump he's bombastic.
Yeah.
Bombastic makes you look a little younger.
Yeah.
And Biden spoke slowly. He spoke quietly. At times there were a hint of the stutter issue.
Yeah.
Which had nothing to do with age. He's had that his whole life.
Right.
And just his demeanor in speaking, which I don't think speaks to anything about your mental faculties, but it does speak to what it looks like. And in that sense, that's a problem for him.
Yeah, definitely how it looks is bad. There were times when they did the split screen while Trump was talking, and you can just see Biden. He's standing there, and his mouth's agape a bit.
Yeah.
He looks at one point. Sometimes he looks like he's just staring off into space.
It's a little bit of deer in a headlight, kind of. Yeah.
And then he kind of refocuses himself, and you're just sitting there thinking, boy, that is not a good look for him.
And
right
you
there.
can see, by contrast, Trump is shaking his head and just indicating disapproval.
No, Trump was there. Now, the other side of that, though, is Trump saying things like, actually saying today that he won 2 club championships this year, which, if you remember, he won not just the senior club at his club, the senior club championship, but the regular one. So Trump at 78 beat guys in their 30s and 40s. It's just silliness.
That was the stupidest thing I've ever heard in a presidential debate. 2 old guys arguing about their handicap. Come on!
Oh my God,
that was ridiculous.
Yeah, I was thinking about that the hundreds of millions of Americans watching, most of whom don't play golf, don't have the money to play golf or the wherewithal or the passion,
and they're laughing.
And these two guys are talking about who has the better handicap. It's like whose dad can beat up the other one.
I liked it more when Biden challenged him to, all right, let's do push-ups.
Yeah. Well, Biden said, I'll play a round of golf with you. How about we both carry our own bags and see what happens? And that was interesting. Yeah. And that's the part that you mentioned this about Biden. He doesn't look good. He looks like a guy who's getting older.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean his mental faculties are gone. He just looks like a guy that's getting older. With Trump, you kind of wonder what's going on in his mind. Now, today I say he looked good. He sounded good for the most part. But when he starts to say things like, they gave me 2 of those cognitive tests, and the doctors gave it to me, said he's never seen anybody ace it before, and I aced it twice. And you're just looking at him going,
dog,
are you
man,
out of your
woman.
mind?
Yeah, I mean, if you remember back to that test, it wouldn't, a kindergartner could pass it.
Right. Right. It was silly. It's the one they give you like after your head you got your head hit
to see if you have a concussion or not.
Exactly. It's not a smart test. It's to see if you have brain damage. So, but that's what he says. So you have to start to wonder: does he really believe this stuff, or I think he believes it?
He's rather low on self-awareness.
Yeah. I mean, I think Trump really believes that he won 2 club championships at his own club. That he legitimately beat all these other golfers. It just startles me that somebody would say that and think.
And of course, to obsess on that when I think the only sensible reaction is who cares whether it's true or not.
That's right.
It's just
Mike O'Neill's with Mike. Mike, last 30 seconds. Let me ask you: does this move the needle? Are we going to see a move in the polls over the next several days post debate?
I tend to think not because of what I said in the beginning. Everybody's kind of locked in, and a lot will depend on how it plays out in the reverberation, because the 10% who are undecided did not watch this. They might hear a dribble here or there and see a cut, from the debate. But
definitely,
I tend to think
not too much.
But I think that was baked in. I said that before the debate started.
Yeah. Do you think Biden is? Did he look good enough? He looked old at times, but he got sharp. Do you think he looked good enough to get over the concerns that he's too old to be president? That he's this thing where he drools and he can't put a shirt on, and did he get past that at least?
He got past that, but it wasn't as good as the State of the Union, and I'd say he's got to be a little more forceful next time.
Yeah, and the voice was a struggle.
And the State of the Union showed that he could do that because he responded to quips in addition to the text, so he's capable of it. I think he fell a little bit short tonight.
Dr. Mike O'Neill, thanks for being with us. We always love your insight and your analysis, and appreciate you being here tonight. Coming up, we'll have the Republicans and the Democrats here. Christine Jones, Stacey Pearson. They're going to join us live on KTAR as we continue our special post-presidential debate coverage. Stay with us, everybody. I'm Barry Markson.
KTAR-FM, Glendale, Phoenix, Arizona's news station. KTAR News, 92.3 FM, Arizona's news station. KTAR, on air, 92.3 FM, online at KTAR.com, and streaming live on the KTAR News app. Your breaking news and traffic, now.
Good evening. It's 8 o'clock for KTAR News. I'm Brandon King. Here's what you need to know right now. Arizona votes. You heard live just a few minutes ago on KTAR News. President Biden touting success on the southern border during the CNN presidential debate against Republican frontrunner Donald Trump.
You're in a situation where there are 40% fewer people coming across the border illegally. That's better than when he left office.
The former president, meanwhile, criticizing Biden, saying, quote, "We don't have borders anymore," end quote, adding that getting migrants Medicare and Social Security is hurting the economy. A massive plume of smoke out in North Scottsdale, the result of 150 Arizona firefighters teams responding to a fire near the Boulder Heights community. At least 5 structures have been evacuated and another 50 being threatened by the now dubbed Boulder View fire, which is estimated to have burned around 1,000 acres at this time. Arizona Forestry says the fire is human-caused and is under investigation. Some have criticized police across the country for investigating their own departments following a critical incident like an officer-involved shooting. That's not the case in the East Valley.
8 law enforcement agencies across the East Valley have partnered to create the East Valley Critical Incident Response Team, also known as EV-CERT, that will investigate use of force incidents where police use lethal force or cause serious injury or death. Officer Aaron Bolin with Scottsdale PD believes this will increase community transparency and trust.
They're not going to be people who are necessarily friends with each other investigating their own friends. You're going to have an objective group of investigators going in and looking at the evidence objectively.
This comes a year before a new Arizona law goes into effect that mandates independent investigations in these cases. Colton Krolak, KTAR News.
The Arizona Attorney General has issued an opinion that emergency abortions are allowed under the 15-week ban. Emergency physician Dr. Dan Schnell says before the opinion was concerned, he was concerned about having to choose between treating the patient and being prosecuted.
Honestly, up until this ruling, we didn't know what we were supposed to do in this type of situation. We all know what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to talk to the patient and do what they want and do what's in their best interest.
The opinion from AG Chris Mays says an abortion may be performed to save the life of the mother or to prevent further harm to her bodily function. Arizona for Abortion Access saying the protections don't go far enough. They're sponsoring a ballot referral that would protect the right to an abortion up to fetus viability. And there are new accusations of theft against a man accused of stealing a security fob from the Maricopa Tabulation and Election Center, the Department of Public Safety, saying 27-year-old Walter Ringfield was seen on surveillance video entering a secure area at the Arizona Senate building in Phoenix, then stealing a number of items from a security staffer's desk. The items, which included challenge coins and desk accessories, those were later found at Ringfield's home. Let's grab you a quick traffic check tonight, live from the Valley Chevy Doors Traffic Center. On the 51 southbound, we're looking at a disabled vehicle blocking the right shoulder near North 32nd Street. Not too severely right now, but delaying things just south of Shea Boulevard area. Meanwhile, in downtown Phoenix, a crash is blocking the right shoulder of the 202 loop westbound near Grand Canal. And over in North Tempe, a disabled vehicle is blocking the right shoulder near McKellips Road near the 101 loop northbound. KTAR weather for the Valley, a low of 91 degrees tonight and clear skies tomorrow. Sunny skies and a high of 112. Same conditions for Saturday as well. Once we get into Sunday, some 20% rain conditions coming into the Valley as well. And then we'll start to get into some partly cloudy into sunny skies later in the 4th of July week. It's currently 104 degrees in Phoenix. Weather brought to you by Howard Air. Weather replace or repair, call Howard Air. I'm Brandon King for Arizona's news station, KTAR News.
Back to more Arizona Votes 2024, the presidential debate with Barry Markson.
All right, welcome back and thanks for being here. I'm Barry Markson. It's KTAR's continuing special election coverage. It's our post-presidential debate coverage. And so happy to be joined right now by our panel. Christine Jones is here, Republican, former gubernatorial and House candidate here in Arizona. Hi, Christine.
Hello.
And then, let's hit that button right there on this side, towards me, back corner. There you go. And then also with us is Stacey Pearson, a Democratic consultant and here and a regular commentator here and on television here in the Valley. And Stacey, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
So excited that you both could stay and listen to that whole thing and then stay with us. We were just talking off air a little bit, and it was interesting. I thought with Biden, I just said this. I was a little concerned at the beginning because the voice didn't feel like it was there. He looked old to me. The very first answering the first set of questions, I think he loosened up. I think he got warmed up and it got better. But Stacey, I was going to ask you, what do you think? That at the beginning, but overall, do you think President Biden did enough to put aside people's concerns that he's too old to be president?
Ooh, that's a great question. I would like to say it's an interesting time to be alive, right? The fact that we're here is fascinating, and I don't think that anyone who was worried about Biden's age feels better at 8:00, whatever time it is right now, than they did before this debate, and that's concerning. That said, no one feels better about Trump's sanity either. Yeah, I don't know that either one of them did enough to allay the fears about him. But Christine, let me ask you the same question about Biden, and then I'll ask you about Trump. Did he do enough to show control, more than he did last debate, certainly, but did he do enough to show control and to allay fears that people have about Trump being too crazy and narcissistic and
we're talking about Trump or Biden?
Let's start with Biden. What do you think about him? How did he look? Did he allay fears for people who say he's too old?
I mean, I have to agree with Stacey on this. The bar for Biden was extremely low, and the expectation was intentionally set low, and he even underperformed that, right? And for a guy who prepared for 7 straight days with 16 staffers, not to have an absolute pat answer for what do you say to people who say you're too old? Suggests the answer to your question. He just didn't have an answer. Yeah, and I look, there's so many things that Trump said throughout the debate, and I kept thinking, say this, say this, and that's hard to do when you're on the stage and there's that much of kind of that. I always
and you're going to get muted.
But like the vomit salad that's coming at you, and how many we got to pick out the ones you're going to respond to. But he looked a little old, and I say this about Biden all the time. He's an older guy. That's for sure, and he's showing the effects of that. That doesn't necessarily mean his mind isn't there anymore. It doesn't mean he doesn't have the smarts anymore. But certainly physically and as he's speaking, it's not quite there as a strength. But Christine, let me ask you about Trump. I thought he started strong. He certainly was in control. He kept his emotions and his anger in control. But towards the last half hour of the 90-minute debate, I thought we started to get more of the Trump we see a lot, which is conspiracy theories, and they're out to get me. Trump, I'll give you an example. He kept bringing up General John Kelly's recitation of Trump's statement that he called people who were in the military, who died in the military, suckers and losers. Trump kept bringing it up. So why would he do that?
Yeah, he didn't do himself any favors on that, right? And to your point, Barry, when I was running for office, I did 55 debates.
55 debates?
55 debates. So having had some experience in what it's like to prepare and have people make you mad and to have to respond in anger, he did himself no favors. And now that's not uncommon for Trump, right? You see him in these rallies where he goes for 2 hours at a time and he starts to get into the poor me mode. But he was so well disciplined for the first 75% of it. You were this close to thinking he was going to make it across the finish line, and then he went right back jumped into the alligator pit with the John Kelly statements and the things that he should have avoided like the plague. So, if Biden's too old, Trump's too angry, I don't know. But here we are where we are.
Does it hurt Trump at all with people who are, and look, I think we agree, a lot of this is baked in, right? There's people who are voting for Biden, there's people who are voting for Trump. Most of them aren't going to change their minds. There's somewhere between, Dr. Mike O'Neill said today, 10%. I saw a poll recently, it's 17% are undecided. And Mike said, and I kind of agree with it, really 17% of the people undecided? I don't know. But did this debate change anybody's mind? Does anybody come out of this and say, yeah, I wasn't sure, but I'm going to go Biden, or I wasn't sure, but I'm going to go Trump? Stacey, what do you think?
So there are a couple of issues that I think are going to be factors. One is Christine did indeed do 50-plus debates. Not once did she call our country an embarrassment or our state an embarrassment. There may be work to be done, but fundamentally, she's an American, she's an Arizonan, and I think Trump's continued commentary about what an embarrassment this country is offensive to most Americans. And I think that's going to come up.
I'm glad you brought that up. And Biden, actually, that was one of the things where he brought it up towards the end of the debate. You keep saying there's no president in the history of the country, past or present, has ever said that the country is a loser country and it's going under, and it's all the things that Trump kept saying. I mean, Christine, does that register with people? Do people say, why do you keep saying that?
Well, I think it for sure, with people who want to be the leader of the free world, it is inappropriate. But we hear lots of politicians talking about how messed up things are. And unfortunately, in politics, it's all about getting reelected, and divisiveness raises money and helps people become elected. So they're all doing it at the moment. For Trump specifically to continue to talk about how bad it is and how messed up it is and how embarrassing it is and how much people hate us feels two things to me: a little weak and a little un-American. And to the people who were the double haters and the undecideds going into the debate, going back to your question, I don't think any of them are sitting in a different space than they were at 5:59 tonight when they turned that TV on to watch the debate. There was nothing particularly compelling to change anybody's mind. And Stacey, maybe you disagree, but that was my sort of takeaway there.
What did you think, Stacey?
So I think I agree. And I think that Trump's dancing away from the abortion issue and the fact that my daughter, who's ideally listening, has less...
Hello, Stacey's daughter.
Hello, Joss. Has less rights than I did. I think that it will continue to resonate. And his revisionist history about how folks wanted this to get kicked back to the states is absolute insanity. I mean, that's just not the case.
Let's play a little bit of that. I'm going to play President Biden first, talking about. I'll play Trump first. Trump talking about abortion after it was brought up, and Trump agreed that it was his Supreme Court justices, and that's what changed it. And Roe v. Wade was overturned because of Trump. Here he is during the debate.
I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and the life of the mother. I think it's very important. Some people don't. Follow your heart, but you have to get elected also, and because that has to do with other things. You got to get elected.
So there, I thought that was interesting because it was Trump basically saying, for people who are listening, it's you got to do what you got to do to get elected. In other words, I'm for these exceptions now because I have to be, and you should be too. Republicans should understand that. He's almost, it's code. It's the Republicans who are saying, I don't like that you have exceptions, but here's why you should like it, and it's okay. And then let me just play this real quick. Here's Biden talking about that, about the abortion rights being sent to the states.
The idea that states are able to do this is a little like saying we're going to turn civil rights back to the states. Let each state have a different rule. Look, there's so many young women who have been included to the funeral. The idea that She was murdered by an immigrant coming in. They talk about that, but here's the deal: there's a lot of young women are being raped by their in-laws, by their spouses.
All right, they cut that clip up for me, and I don't think they understood what was in there. There were some of those types of things here where Biden was saying stuff, and you're looking at him going, wait, what?
Could I borrow Trump's line, the best line of the night? I don't know what he just said, and I don't think he does either.
Yeah. And I say it was a good line, and he did it with, he didn't do it with a lot of anger. He just kind of said it just like that. It was, you're right.
But I think, let's defer to Stacey, who's the consultant here. As a candidate, I think it's a mistake to make the admission that exactly what you just said. Hey, I got to get elected here, people. So go with me on this thing that you don't like. But I'm curious what the expert on this thinks.
Well, I think that this was an issue that got him the evangelical support a number of years ago, his first run, his second run. My husband, for example, thought that there was never going to be a Supreme Court justice that was a tiebreaker to fall Roe. He was wrong. He was so wrong. Yeah. And I remind him of that regularly. So that's the situation we're in is women aren't taking those hollow threats as hollow threats anymore. We know what the stakes are and whether or not we can get birth control or IVF or emergency care. I mean, these are the things that people are really thinking about.
Yes, Stacey Pearson is with us, a Democratic consultant. Christine Jones, a Republican gubernatorial candidate here in Arizona. We're talking about the debate. So let me ask you, we just talked about abortion a little bit. What was the biggest issue in this debate? Was it the immigration? Was it the economy? Was it abortion? Is there one of those issues and the responses from the candidates that you think may move the needle in polling over the next week or so?
Well, it should have been the border. I think to the credit of Jake Tapper and Dana Bash, who had an impossible job, they did keep, I almost used a bad word, they did keep mostly peace in the room. But it turned out to be sort of the sour grapes a little bit of them fighting with each other and blaming each other for things that they didn't need to cast blame on. So I guess in the end, if you looked at the number of minutes, probably the border, the economy, and less so on things that may have made sense, like states' rights and things like that.
What do you think, Stacey?
I mean, honestly, I think it's who cheats at golf, right?
Yeah,
like, that's what this is
my
going to come
goodness.
to.
I'm sorry.
Unbelievable.
I'm sorry. Can we just talk about the fact
nonsense.
that two old white guys talking about their golf scores is about as tone deaf as anything I've ever heard in a presidential debate ever?
And they wouldn't stop.
And they wouldn't stop.
Yeah. And 95% of the audience is like, I don't play golf. I don't like people who play golf. What are you doing? It was crazy.
And I feel bad for Dana Bash and Jake Tapper, of course, because they tried to control the format so much that they made it useless.
Yeah.
Like we had a debate that wasn't a debate. It was a series of 2-minute clips that each of them can post on X or on
I agree
TikTok.
with you. And we did a post-debate show after the CD8 debate here in Arizona the other day, the Republican side, and it was the worst debate. It was useless. It was wild. It was little questions. The pat 1-minute answers. Frankly, all of them said the same thing. They didn't disagree on anything, and they didn't even challenge each other about any. It was useless. It was a waste of an hour. I thought this was a little bit better. Frankly, I think the candidates were better. They went after each other a little bit. They brought up the candidates' histories a little bit and their records a little bit. But I agree. It was a tight rules. I don't want to do too much process here. I thought the moderators did a nice job, but all they really did was ask some questions. There wasn't much there otherwise.
But you know what Dana Bash did that some of the moderators in the 2020 cycle did not do is she went back to a question and said, "Could I remind you? Here was the question." By the way,
indeed.
With all due respect, you didn't answer it.
Yeah.
She didn't say that, but I would take hats off to them because that's a really tough environment when you're talking about a president and a former president. It's high stakes.
That's true. All right. Stacey Pearson, our Democratic representative, is here today. Christine Jones on the Republican side. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, I'm going to talk about the immigration issues, the economy issues. Those, I think, were the big issues in the debate today. And we'll talk a little bit about some of the rhetoric towards the last 90 minutes when I think the gloves came off a little bit for both candidates. We'll have that for you on KTAR's continuing special election coverage, the presidential debate. I'm Barry Markson.
KTAR News app. It's your portal to a world of Arizona news and information from Arizona's news station. Listen to podcasts, stream KTAR News live, read breaking news stories on the KTAR News app. Presented by Rias Air Conditioning.
Hi, it's Sherry Harris, owner of LifeSource Water. A LifeSource whole house water system ensures that clean, delicious, and refreshing water flows from every tap and faucet in your home. Our healthy water makes your hair shine and your skin glow. And now is the best time to get your LifeSource. For a limited time, we will pay your sales tax. Save up to $1,000 on a new system. Call 800-WATER-99 now or visit lifesourcewater.com. Offer ends July 4th.
Warranty limitations apply.
I joke around and with my wife and call it my bionic knee.
But before Ernest became a patient with QC Kinetics, it was a different story.
I'd go to bed with my knee throbbing, heat, ice. I would get up in the middle of the night to get a drink or something, and I would just be hobbling.
He wasn't able to play on his rec basketball team or work in the yard. But QC Kinetics regenerative treatments turned around the situation without surgery or downtime, using Ernest's own healing properties to help restore his aching knee, now known as Ernest's bionic knee.
I am really happy because I am playing the game that I love so much, and I'm playing with my granddaughter, and I'm gardening, and I'm on my knees, and I'm jumping up. I have a 200-pound dog, and I'm playing with my dog.
Now Ernest is living his best life thanks to QC Kinetics, and so can you. Call today for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 602-837-PAIN. That's 602-837-PAIN. 602-837-PAIN.
You're never more than 15 minutes away from today's top news stories. Arizona's breaking news and traffic leader with Arizona's largest radio news team. KTAR News on 92.3 FM.
The Right Money Show with Don Spini.
Every account has to have a specific job because if money doesn't have a job, it gets lazy, underperforms, and loses value.
Tune in to The Right Money Show with Don Spini.
We're going to look at the hybrid index strategy and make sure that you never run out of money.
Tune in to The Right Money Show with Don Spini, Sunday mornings at 11 on KTAR News.
Guys, when she's ready, shouldn't you be ready too? There's good news. For 20 years, Boston Medical Group has delivered a simple and effective solution for ED, proven to work when all else has failed. It's ICP, also known as ED shots. ICP uses a custom blend of FDA-approved medications specifically formulated to restore healthy blood flow where you need it most. ICP works for 98% of men in just a few minutes, regardless of age or medical conditions. Previously acquired only by an in-person visit, our telemedicine platform now brings this virtually 100% effective solution to your doorstep nationwide. You can be ready for her with confidence. Call 800-940-2900. The first 100 patients will receive 10 extra doses of ICP medication for free when you sign up for a treatment program today. Call 800-940-2900. That's 800-940-2900. Or visit bostonmedicalgroup.com.
Outspoken with Bruce and Gatos.
It was the earliest general election debate ever. Were you at least entertained? And was anyone's mind changed? And will this move the needle here in Arizona? The aftermath of the big debate. We start up at 4 o'clock.
Outspoken with Bruce and Gatos. Tomorrow afternoon, 4 to 7. KTAR News 92.3 and the KTAR News app.
Start smart with Arizona's morning news.
60. That's the average age of an Arizona farmer. Julie Murphy with the Arizona Farm Bureau is confident the industry will remain strong. She says the passion she sees in the next generation of farmers gives her hope.
Arizona's morning news. Weekday mornings 5 to 8 on Arizona's news station. KTAR News, 92.3 FM and the KTAR News app.
Here's more of our KTAR News special, Arizona Votes 2024, the presidential debate, hosted by Barry Markson.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Barry Markson with you on KTAR special election coverage, the post-presidential debate. Coming up at 8:45, Garrett Archer from Channel 15 is going to be with us. He's, as we speak, doing a panel and a focus group with Republicans, Democrats, Independents, some undecideds. We're going to get an idea, people who watch the debate, and we're going to get an idea from him how that played with these folks. We'll have that coming up for you in about 25 minutes. Joining us right now, we're so happy to have him. Christine Jones is here from the right, Stacey Pearson here from the left. Let's go to the immigration issue, the border issue. I thought they both made some points. I was surprised it wasn't that Trump didn't make it a bigger issue. He tried to go back to it several times. It was definitely the place he went. But Christine, do you think he landed a punch there? Was it an effective tool for him in the debate?
Well, I think to your earlier point, the people who already were voting for Trump are still voting for Trump, and they think that the border is their single biggest issue, and that despite the fact that it's been a problem for decades, it's a worse problem now. We know it in Arizona. We're so close to it, but people all over the country now know it, and they're housing illegal immigrants in their cities and towns. So I think he probably could have come a little stronger on that. And the other thing he could have done, and because they had such a long time to answer the questions, is to say, it was better, it's now worse. I told you we needed a wall in strategic locations. I was right, you were wrong.
Yeah.
And here are some things that we can do instantly to make it better. And that was a missed opportunity for him.
Yeah, and although I did think Trump did a nice job of, I handed you a border that was, he pushed it a little too far, but I handed you a border that was shut down, and you got rid of everything, and now look where we are. He did do that. Stacey, there was one part here where Biden I didn't understand it. He brought up somebody who was killed by an illegal immigrant, and Biden brought it up. And I am sitting there going, why did you just do that? But do you think the immigration issue, the border issue, was it effective for Trump here? Is it something that's going to hurt Biden more from the debate?
I'd like to say that he had some extraordinarily brilliant point, but I think maybe the software glitched in the rehearsals. I don't know. I don't know why he brought that up. But Arizonans have been on the corner of Maine and Maine at the border crisis for decades now.
Yeah.
And the wall didn't work. Anyone who's driven by it can see, well, that looks a little short and a little rusty, and it doesn't look particularly deep. This is the Napolitano argument, right? Show me a 40-foot wall, and I'll show you a 45-foot ladder. So
they don't even need a ladder. When I see it on TV, they show people just pouring right through the wall.
Right.
I don't understand it. But anyway, go ahead.
No, but that's exactly the issue. Like Arizona, if we're really talking about this specifically, Arizona is immune to some of these hyperbolic arguments. Yeah. I don't know if Idaho is. I don't know if Minnesota is. I don't know if some of the other states. New Mexico certainly is in Arizona's position, but we actually need real solutions. And I think Arizonans know that there were options on the table that didn't get taken, particularly this last session in Congress that Sinema had proposed.
Yeah, and I thought that came up a little bit. All right, let me ask you this. The economy was the big issue. It was the first question out of the chute. Did either of them I thought it was interesting that they both took credit for the good economy now, and they both placed blame on the other for the inflation. Do you think either of them landed any punches here?
It didn't feel like they made much progress, and I guess it's the oldest trick known to mankind for presidential candidates to take credit for the good and blame for the bad. This notion that people pay more for gas and pay more for groceries and pay more for rent is so visceral and so real to people who live paycheck to paycheck. Huge lost opportunity for Trump, right? And for Biden, he also could have done the flip side, which is to say, look, we came out of COVID and we recovered in a miraculous way, right? Yeah. I don't necessarily agree with that as a Republican, but he could have said that and emphasized some of the high points, and he didn't do that either.
He did that. I agree with you. It should be more. This should be something Biden says all the time if I'm Biden. I mean, can you imagine if everything was reversed? Trump would be saying constantly, we came out of Biden's, the last guy, and we were at 15% unemployment, and 100%. The economy was flat.
Right.
And look what I did. The stock market has gone up 10,000 points, and everything. Look at everything that we've done.
Jobs.
And Biden does it, yeah. And now we're at the lowest unemployment in history. I mean, Biden, there's a lot of good things that have happened in the economy. Put inflation to the side for a second, and Biden just doesn't talk about it enough. But at the same time, I understand people are feeling it. One thing that was interesting, I thought Jake Tapper, I think it was one of the first couple of questions, he said something about inflation is hitting people. People are feeling it. He said a grocery basket, $100 worth of groceries 4 years ago now costs $120. Yeah. That's the inflation is 20%. Trump later said, I think he said it twice, that groceries are up 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. And I think sometimes the hyperbole hurts him because it becomes so silly. Like everybody knows my groceries haven't gone up 4 times in 4 years, right? I'm not paying $400 for $100 worth of groceries. But did Trump land a punch with Biden here on the economy? Because in many ways, the economy is doing well, except for inflation.
I don't think so, or at least I hope not, right? What we have to remember, what the Democrats have done a terrible job at, and I am among this team, is that 4 years ago, we had a group of working class Americans who no longer had their kids in daycare because they were home, required to be home. They had direct subsidy from the government, and they were in better financial shape. When you're not paying $1,200 a month for your 3 kids to be in preschool, you're in better shape than you are today. And we Democrats have continuously dismissed this. Oh, no, it's better now. It's better now. Things are better now. Look at the unemployment rate. No, on a family of 4, they were actually doing okay. During COVID, they were worried they were going to die, but they were doing okay.
They couldn't leave the house.
They couldn't leave the house.
But I look at other things like, was it last week before, Sky Harbor had the busiest 4 days it's ever had. Just a regular week, not a holiday week.
Yeah.
There's more people flying. There's more people traveling. Restaurants are full. Hotels full. Lots of good things are happening. But there's inflation. And I say this all the time. In any economy, there are always people who are not rising. The boats aren't all rising at the same time.
Exactly.
Some people are struggling more. Did that come across well enough in this debate for Trump?
I don't think so. I mean, but I think they both had lost opportunities. The thing that Trump could have hammered home, though, there's this Democrat trope about inflation being caused by greedy corporations. Biden never said that, right? He should have been prepared to say that, and Trump should have been prepared to slap back at it. And okay, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. I don't know if he was talking about factors of pricing or if it's happened.
He said groceries cost 3 times, 4 times, 5 times
or the
more.
number of times it's happened. Okay, well, all right. I was trying to give him a little benefit of the doubt there. But that is real.
Yeah.
It's legitimate, right? I don't know if you buy eggs or not, but you know what you used to pay for eggs and you know what you pay for eggs now. It's real.
Yeah.
Right? And we all know that you're a bazillionaire, so you don't have to worry about this. But
Christine's calling me a bazillionaire. That's funny.
Bazillionaire.
but honestly, that should have been driven home. And there's also a comeback for Trump when Biden says, you left us the worst situation and I improved it.
Right.
Trump obviously gets to say, my focus shifted to developing vaccines. We did.
Yeah.
To developing therapeutics. We did.
Does he want to say that, though? Because so much of his base doesn't like that.
No, well,
they get mad at him.
At the very beginning, he talked about mandates.
Yeah.
And his base, that's some red meat right there.
Yeah.
They love talking about a mandate because everybody hates a mandate.
Unless it's my uterus.
Unless
then legislate everywhere.
Okay, we passed the abortion debate. We're never going to solve that one.
Stacey Pearson is here, a Democratic consultant. Christine Jones is here, a Republican former gubernatorial candidate. We're going to stay one more segment on the other side. I want to talk a little bit about towards the end of the debate. We talked about January 6th. We tried to talk they tried to get him there. The moderators did. We'll play some sound for you and hear what Trump said and what Biden said. It got a little. They both got a little more heated towards the end. We'll play some of this and continue to get some commentary on both the right and the left about tonight's presidential debate. I'm Barry Marks, and stay with us. It's KTAR's continuing special election coverage.
KTAR News now.
At 8:30, I'm Brandon King for KTAR News. Arizona votes you heard earlier tonight on KTAR.
I don't mind being here. But the only reason I'm here is he's so bad as a president that I'm going to make America great again. We're a failing nation right now.
The CNN presidential debate put President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump on the same stage for the first time in several years, both candidates saying they were capable of leading despite their age and vowing not to cut Medicare nor Social Security for seniors. An impressive start to the 2024 monsoon in Phoenix. Arizona State climatologist Erin Ann Saffel says in the first week after June 15th start, much of the state saw a 200 to 800% above average rainfall, but that can turn on a dime, and the monsoon doesn't end until September 30th.
Kind of how the monsoon season operates. If we're doing good, we'll get a lot, and then we'll get nothing, and then we'll get a lot, and then we'll get nothing. So it's good to see this. On average, if we look at that long-term average, this is a good bump.
Southeastern Arizona, along with northern Arizona, they've seen the biggest storms so far. Due to the amount of rain the forest has received over the last few days, the Coconino National Forest is going to be moving back down from Stage 2 to Stage 1 fire restrictions on Friday morning at 8. The campfires will be once again allowed within developed recreation sites. Smoking will still be banned except within an enclosed building or or inside a vehicle or an official developed recreation site. Fireworks are always prohibited on national forests. Just a week out from 4th of July holiday weekend, traveling to fill up your gas tank for the road is cheaper than last year at this time. AAA saying the Arizona statewide average at the gas pump is $3.58. That's 39 cents cheaper than a year ago. Phoenix area average is $3.61, down 48 cents from a year ago. If you're thinking about getting a dog or cat to hang out with this summer, time to put your plan into action.
The Arizona Humane Society is at maximum capacity, offering free adoptions to try and house some of the 1,650 animals being taken care of. The shelters are using temporary structures to hold all the animals, and more are expected to be brought in with the extreme heat and upcoming July 4th holiday when animals tend to go missing. To learn more, go to KTAR.com. Shira Tanzer, KTAR News.
Also earlier today, emergency abortions are allowed under Arizona's 15-week ban. Attorney General Chris Mays issued the opinion today after hearing confusion from healthcare providers.
Doctors have a fear of prosecution hanging over their heads, and that is chilling how common sense medicine should be practiced.
Mays explains physicians must use their clinical judgment to determine if the mother's life is in danger or if delaying an abortion would cause further harm. Arizona for Abortion Access, saying the protections don't go far enough, they're sponsoring a ballot referral that would protect the right to an abortion up to fetus viability. Let's grab you a traffic check tonight live from the Valley Chevy Dealers Traffic Center in North Phoenix. We were looking at a crash earlier on the 101 loop southbound in 7th Street. That looks to have pretty much cleared up for the time being, though you might see some slight delays up till 16th Street. Meanwhile, we're still looking at that crash over on the 51 southbound near North 32nd Street, as well as that crash in Scottsdale from earlier at the right shoulder of the 101 loop northbound near East McKellips Road. Finally tonight in downtown Phoenix, a crash is blocking the right shoulder near Grand Canal and the 202 loop westbound. KTAR weather for the valley, a low of 91 degrees tonight and clear skies, sunny skies tomorrow and Saturday, highs of 112 for both, and rain chances coming into the valley around 20% Sunday and Monday. It's currently 102 degrees in Sun City. Weather brought to you by Howard Air. Weather replace or repair, call Howard Air. I'm Brandon King for Arizona's news station, KTAR News.
Here's more of our KTAR News special, Arizona Votes 2024, the presidential debate, hosted by Barry Markson.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It's KTAR special election coverage following the presidential debate. Stacey Pearson is here with us, Democratic consultant. Christine Jones, a former Republican gubernatorial candidate. Thank you both for staying with us. Let me play a little bit of this. This was more towards the end of the debate. They tried to ask Trump about January 6th, and he avoided the question a few times.
My question was, what do you say to those voters who believe that you violated your constitutional oath through your actions and inaction on January 6, 2021, and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I didn't say that to anybody. I said peacefully and patriotically. And Nancy Pelosi, if you just watched the news from 2 days ago, on tape to her daughter, who's a documentary filmmaker, they say.
Filmmaker.
But she's saying, oh, no, it's my responsibility. I was responsible for this. Because I offered her 10,000 soldiers or National Guard, and she turned them down. And the mayor in writing, by the way, the mayor, in writing, turned it down, the mayor of D.C.
All right, what do you think there, Stacey? You're shaking your head.
I'm married to a cop. I'm in a law enforcement family. What happened on January 6th is unforgivable.
Yeah.
It just is.
Christine, let me ask you that. I mean, how does that sell when another point of the debate, Trump said he started talking about how these January 6 people, many of them are innocent and they weren't doing anything. And I know that's the narrative, but there were an awful lot of the people who've been convicted, assaulted police officers. Yes. I mean, hundreds of them. And Trump has just he doesn't separate them out. He just talks about pardoning everybody, including the Proud Boys, including the Oath Keepers, people who went in with a plan and arms in D.C. To stop this vote. Does that play with independence? Do people care about this issue?
I think they do, although I did hear a lot of talk about in the run-up to the debate, let's look forward, not back, which is helpful. This is the difference between somebody who did 55 debates and somebody who this was their first debate. Because if he had been asked that question a lot before he got on this massive 90 million person national stage, he would have had a perfect answer for that, right? You know what he was trying to say? What he was trying to say is, I didn't encourage them to riot. I asked them to protest peacefully and patriotically. Right. We all get what he was trying to say. He did not answer it well. And this notion of what do you say to people who think you violated your oath is such an important question and could have turned some undecideds and some double haters. Didn't quite get there.
Yeah, and here's President Biden kind of responding to what Trump had to say.
He encouraged those folks to go up on Capitol Hill, number one. I sat in the dining room off the Oval Office. He sat there for 3 hours watching, being begged by his vice president and a number of his colleagues on the Republican side as well to do something, to call for a stop, to end it. Instead, they talked about these people being patriots and great patrons of America. In fact, he says he'll now forgive them for what they've done. They've been convicted. He says he wants to commute their sentences and say that no. But he went to every single court in the nation. I don't know how many cases, scores of cases, including the Supreme Court, and they said no, this guy is responsible for doing what was done. He didn't do a damn thing.
So he's talking about, now we're getting into the court cases and things, and this is the overall scheme that was behind the January 6th thing. We now know where Trump was trying to stay in office despite losing the election. Is this going to carry any weight with voters, Christine? I mean, I think we now, he's been charged criminally with this. That's not going to happen before the election. The evidence is out there, but there's an awful lot of people who don't believe it. Does any of this carry any weight where where Republicans or independents who may otherwise have voted for Trump are going to say, this is too much, I can't vote for somebody who wouldn't accept the results of an election?
Well, there are people like you who were hyper-focused on the Stop the Steal and the election fraud conspiracy theorists and things like that. I know that gets under your skin because you talk about it a lot.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but the reason it does for me is this is our whole country.
Right.
What makes us different is everybody, until Trump, everybody accepts the results of the election. Yep. They congratulate the opponent. They may come out with sour grapes later and say, but nobody has ever done this before. And that's the only thing that makes us, the United States, what we are today.
The peaceful transfer, right?
Right, the peaceful transfer of power. If we don't have that, it's over. I don't know what happens.
Right, I don't mean to be critical. I just know for people like you who are super focused on it, I think it's always going to offend you. I do think there was a moment, Dana Bash had to ask him 3 times, but he did finally say, when she said, will you accept the outcome? He said unequivocally, absolutely. And I needed to hear him say that.
I don't think he said that. Let me play it.
Well, then he blabbered on for another few minutes.
Here it is, I think.
President Trump, the question was, will you accept the results of the election, regardless of who wins? Yes or no, please.
If it's a fair and legal and good election, absolutely. I would have much rather accepted these, but the fraud and everything else was ridiculous. And if you want, we'll have a news conference on it in a week, or we'll have another one of these in a week. But I will absolutely, there's nothing I'd rather do. It would be much easier for me to do that than I'm running again. I wasn't really.
He talks about he wasn't going to run again, but he had to. Go ahead.
Biden's terrible.
This goes back to what he said throughout the entire debate. Trump said throughout the entire debate that we are a third world country. We are uncivilized. Yeah. We're no longer respected. He didn't come out forcefully against insurrectionists in our nation's capital. That is unforgivable. I don't know, regardless of party, how people aren't taking such emotional offense to what he's saying about America. We are the greatest country in the nation. We should fight amongst ourselves. We should disagree about policy. But what the president or the former president is saying about us being third world is unacceptable.
Yeah, and Biden did point that out. It is odd to hear somebody running for president saying the country's is not respected in the world, and that we're the worst military in the world, and the economy's worse. And in reality, none of that is true. I mean, our economy is the envy of the world. We've come out of COVID better than anybody else. I mean, Christine, you're nodding. You agree with that?
Absolutely.
It's hard to just listen to Trump say these things when you're sitting there thinking there's not one kernel of truth to what you're saying. We can talk about inflation, we can talk about things, but to say overall our economy isn't good, that we didn't come out of COVID incredibly well, is just not true. It's a lie. And Biden didn't push back on that enough, but do you think that resonated with anybody? Well, let me ask you this, the way Stacey said, does it resonate with anybody when Trump just keeps bashing the United States?
I think most people are offended by that. Even the staunchest constitutional conservative like me says, could you please not criticize? I mean, my husband has been in a blue uniform for 50 years, right?
Yeah.
Like, we've given our entire adult lives.
I would like you to run for president, please.
To service to the country. Could you please stop criticizing it? Let me say this, Barry, before we run out of time. I think 2 things landed tonight. One, Trump accused Biden of using politics to prosecute or persecute a political opponent. I think that landed. The second thing is, and with all due respect, Stacey, I think the Democrats demonstrably did themselves a significant disservice by not having a competitive primary and by foisting this 81-year-old, apparently, somewhat less competent candidate upon the American people. And imagine if he's like this today, what he's going to be like when he's 86. With all due respect, we all, like you said, we all have aging parents or grandparents or people that we love that are this age, and we want them to be healthy and have long, wonderful, fruitful lives. But if the Democrats hadn't forced this on themselves, they would be in such a better position because any of the alternate candidates would have been able to answer exactly what you just said.
That could be. Stacey, very quickly, any big takeaway? What's the biggest takeaway from the debate today?
Oh, I think that we are in for a very long 130-ish days.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just going to be brutal. It's going to be we are in the land of memes and sound bites and clips and chaos and
a lot of clips over the next several days of the debate. That's for sure. Christine Jones, thank you so much. Stacey Pearson, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Coming up, Garrett Archer from Channel 15. He's going to join us. He just finished up with a panel of Republicans, Democrats, Independents, and many people who they were undecided. We're going to find out from him after they watch this debate. Did it have an effect on their opinion of either candidate? That's next. I'm Barry Markson. It's KTAR special election coverage.
Start smart with Arizona's Morning News.
You get to decide if some Arizona judges will have indefinite terms. If this initiative is approved, only a judicial review commission can remove a judge, not the voter.
Arizona's Morning News, weekday mornings 5 to 8 on Arizona's news station, KTAR News, 92.3 FM, and the KTAR News app.
Outspoken with Bruce and Gatos.
It was the earliest general election debate ever. Were you at least entertained? And was anyone's mind changed? And will this move the needle here in Arizona? The aftermath of the big debate. We start up at 4 o'clock.
Outspoken with Bruce and Gatos. Tomorrow afternoon, 4 to 7. KTAR News 92.3 and the KTAR News app.
Build the custom home of your dreams with Adair Homes. Take advantage of their limited time offer of 4.875 interest rate with a 5.31 APR when you finance with Adair Financial Services. Visit ADAIRhomes.com to find out more. For well-qualified buyers, other restrictions apply. Visit AdairHomes.com for additional disclosures. Equal housing opportunity, Adair Financial Services, NMLS number 4586.
Put your phone on D&D, that means that do not disturb when you're driving. And when you're going from point A to B, I need you to stay safe, please, so always sing with me. So put your phone on D&D, that means that do not disturb when you're driving. And when you're going from point A to B, I need you to stay safe, please, so always remember this beat.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
How in the world do you know which personal injury firm to choose when there are a million of them out there? Hey, it's Mike Broomhead. Here's why you should choose the attorneys at Sweet James when you're hurt in an accident. Number one, Sweet James used to work defending insurance companies, and so did many of Sweet James' attorneys. They were disgusted by the insurance companies and how they were taking advantage of everyday people at their weakest moments, and now they use their passion, experience, and knowledge to give injured victims a voice. Secondly, they are one of the only firms that have attorneys with experience in over 500 trials. That means they are assembled to take on the big insurance companies and maximize every case so you get the most. They consistently deliver some of the top settlements in the state. It's the compassion for injured victims that drive them to win and win big. If you're hurt in an accident, call Sweet James at 800-9-MILLION. That's 800-9-MILLION. That phone number is 800-900-0000, or find them online at sweetjames.com. That's sweetjames.com.
Proud partner of your Phoenix Suns. You're never more than 15 minutes away from today's top news stories. Arizona's breaking news and traffic leader. With Arizona's largest radio news team, KTAR News on 92.3 FM.
Hi, this is Jordan Beebe with Rooter Ranger Plumbing. I want you to call me for all your plumbing needs. To help you remember my phone number, I made a little jingle. It's so easy, my 4 kids sing it all the time. Hit it, kids.
Drains and toilets, we do it all. Rooter Rangers, always on call. 888-7 Ranger, gets you out of plumbing danger.
888-7 Ranger, get you out of plumbing danger.
Home homeowners, there's never been a better time to try Connecticut Water's twin tank, non-electric home water treatment systems. For a limited time, they're offering a free trial. They'll even waive install fees on homes pre-plumbed for water treatment. Protect your plumbing, appliances, and fixtures. Why wouldn't you try a Connecticut? Aquazona is the exclusive authorized independent Connecticut dealer for Phoenix and Tucson. Family owned and operated since 1987. Aquazona.com or call 602-910-6570.
Strong values and strong opinions. The Mike Broomhead Show.
I'm against prevailing wage because I think it puts the taxpayers in a bad place. We are supposed to be good stewards of the people's money. We don't need something to falsely raise wages. Wages are going up because people are in demand in Arizona. That's how you build a solid economy.
The Mike Broomhead Show, tomorrow morning at 8 on KTAR News 92.3 FM and the KTAR News app.
The KTAR News app. It's your portal to a world of Arizona news and information from Arizona's news station. Listen to podcasts, stream KTAR News live, read breaking news stories on the KTAR News app. Presented by Rias Air Conditioning.
Chris and Joe.
They came, they saw, they debated, and maybe they did some Adderall. What you see in the debates is not what you get after an election, and there's good reason for it. That's on the next Chris and Joe Show, KTAR News.
Chris and Joe. Afternoons 2 to 4 on KTAR News 92.3 and the KTAR News app.
Here's more of our KTAR News special, Arizona Votes 2024, the presidential debate, hosted by Barry Markson.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It's KTAR special election coverage. Joining us right now, Garrett Archer, ABC 15 data analyst. And Garrett, thanks for being here on KTAR.
Hey, Barry, how you doing?
Great. And I really appreciate you being here. Now, I understand you did you call it a focus group or some kind of a group of people who watched the election? What was the outcome of that? Who was there and what did you observe?
So, yeah, we had asked individuals from the community to come over and, watch the debate with us. And the goal was to get as many people who were either undecided or said that they were sort of softly leaning towards one candidate or the other. And, it came out that I would say if I had to, this was 8 individuals. 1 was a Trump supporter. This is on lean, of course. 5 were Biden supporters and 2 undecideds. Because when you come down to it with this election, there really are no true undecideds in this election. We've seen that in polling after polling. Yeah. And so these were how the leans went. And so these individuals came, they watched the debate, they discussed the debate. We had a very civil discussion with them, moderated by a couple of our political reporters. And at the end of the debate, no one really changed their mind.
Okay. So Garrett Archer is with us from ABC 15. So were any of them swayed or did it force them to lean one way or the other? Did it change anyone's mind about their preferred candidate?
I would say that the Trump supporter who came in as a soft Trump supporter ended up saying that he was now a definitive Trump supporter. Oh. The Biden supporters, the ones that were leaning Biden, they all, for the most part, agreed that he performed well on substance, lost to Trump on style. And then the undecideds, frankly, they actually said that they were more disgusted with both candidates and were most likely not going to vote. And that's sort of where we ended. It's the way it shook out.
Did they really say that they're more likely not to vote now after watching that?
Yes, there were a couple people that said that they were. There was one individual, in fact, that said that they were a lean Biden voter. But after the debate, they just said, you know what, I'm probably just going to vote locally and not vote in the presidential election at this point. So yeah, there were a couple that had that reaction to the debate.
Garrett Archer is with us, ABC 15 analyst, and just did a focus group after the debate of Republicans, Democrats, and some undecideds. Garrett, was there any one topic that affected these voters more than others? Was it immigration, the economy, abortion? Was there something that at least resonated somewhat with them?
I would say, as is, again, all Americans are thinking about the economy right now. And so they had a very large, robust discussion around the economy and what's going on and why the prices are where they are and really who's to blame. Some people sort of blaming corporate profit, some people blaming either Donald Trump's, others blaming Joe Biden. So, sort of what you'd expect around that topic. I think if there was one universal sort of agreement, consensus in the room, was all of them wanted to come in seeing something other than both candidates attacking each other, and all were disappointed that that's basically what happened the entire time, was just attack after attack. And then one other thing was, everyone really hated the golf thing.
Yeah, that was unbelievable. These two old white guys talking about golf and which one had a better handicap, and they wouldn't stop. They just wouldn't end it. It was incredible.
Yeah. They were like, why are they talking about golf right now? We've got other things we want to talk about. So it was, everyone sort of collectively said that they were really annoyed with the golf thing.
You mentioned earlier, Garrett, that President Biden, that many people said on substantively he did well, but stylistically not as strong as Trump. Was that did they think he looked old or felt old at times during the debate?
Yeah, I would say that of the Biden supporters that were there, and then the ones that were lean Biden, I think they all sort of felt that age, and they many of them mentioned that issue, and so I think as we've seen with some of the commentary surrounding the debate right now, there was some concern over the age situation. So I mean, again, in summary, the Trump supporter was very happy with Trump's debate performance. The Biden supporters, there were a couple that were very happy with his substance, but for the most part were just basically, I'm going to get in line and vote for this individual. And a lot of that came around with that substance over style, the way that they saw it. A lot of them, the consensus was, a lot of them was, Trump won on style and Biden won on substance. And this is the sort of more Biden supporters, if you will.
Right. Garrett Archer with us, ABC 15 data analyst. So, Garrett, is there, with Trump, and he kept himself under control. I think most people would say that for Trump, and after certainly the debates last time around, where there was a lot more arguing and cutting in and interrupting, and he couldn't do that because the mics were shut off. Overall, I think his style, the rules benefited him. I think it kept him a little more under control. Did people comment on things like when he said he won both of his club championships this year at 78, where he won not just the senior championship but the regular one, and some of the other hyperbole and ridiculous things where he said he aced a cognitive test that most people don't ace. Did that resonate with anybody? Did they hear that and go, "You got to be kidding me," or did it just roll off their backs?
Yeah, I would say that they were, again, wanted to hear more about the substance of these issues, and not about that sort of those things like the especially the golf. I really keep going back to the golf because the golf kind of threw everyone when they started talking about golf. So I would say that they were, for the most part, disappointed in the fact that they were not really talking that much about the actual issues, and we're just attacking each other.
Certainly a big issue here in Arizona is the abortion issue, and that came up today as well. What was the reaction of everyone in the room? And I'm wondering if you had women on that panel where Trump, acknowledged that he's the one who put the Supreme Court justices in place that had Roe v. Wade overturned and made it a states' rights issue, and we're certainly feeling that in Arizona right now. What was the reaction of your panel?
Yeah, I would. That was actually a good thing you brought that up, because there were some people that sort of had that. They heard what he said and were very surprised. They said that, and this was some of the women on our panel. One in particular who was she was actually more of one of our undecided voters, and she's like, she basically said that this abortion issue going to the states, we've the least amount of unity on this issue than we ever had. We're so disunified on abortion, so I don't understand how Trump could sort of present it as this being a unifying issue. Now, again, these are her words, and that was something that stuck out in our discussion.
Yeah, Trump kept saying things like everybody wanted it to go back to the states. Everybody everywhere was saying this where it should go. And I did at the time wonder, where did that come from? Nobody.
Yeah, and two people in particular sort of latched onto that issue as, no, I don't remember this being something that everyone wanted. Everyone wanted to go back to the states. Yeah,
but that wasn't enough to change their position or get them to lean more towards Biden.
No, and well, the one that I was saying is she was one of the individuals that while she was one of our more undecided voters, she just said she may not even vote in the presidential election this year.
That's interesting. Garrett Archer is with us from ABC 15. Garrett, was there one particular substantive issue that your panel thought was more important or more compelling to them? Was it immigration, or what was the biggest issue for them?
We had a very robust discussion around immigration. Several of our panelists were young Hispanic individuals that really had a passion for this topic, and a lot of differing ideas from these native Arizonans or these Arizonans about this. And we did, but this panel talked for several, I'd say 10, 20 minutes or so on immigration, sharing their opinions. Many of them did not particularly like Biden's, didn't like Biden's executive order, don't really want what the Republicans are offering. Although, as said, the Trump supporter on immigration, he did, he made a comment that he thought that Trump didn't do enough in 2016, but he was very happy with some of the things that Trump said this evening, also pointing out sort of all, how the immigration surged in the last couple of years. So it was a very robust discussion around immigration. I'd say, aside from economy, that was the second topic that sort of garnered the most attention in that room.
Garrett Archer, ABC 15 data analyst. And finally, Garrett, did the January 6th discussion towards the end of the debate and whether Trump would abide by the results of this election, did any of that resonate with, what the Democrats are saying is the importance of democracy? Did any of that resonate with your panel?
I will say I don't actually have any notes on that, so I don't even know if we spoke on that really quick. So I apologize for not having anything on that. So.
Bring him back in, Garrett. Let's do this again. We can.
Right? Yeah. No. Exactly.
All right. Did they say which of these topics was the subjects that was the most important to them, or the one that they were most keen on hearing the candidates discuss?
Oh, it was the economy. It was jobs in the economy. Sure. I mean, I remember one individual, a African American lady. She made a point saying when they were talking about issues on black families, she said, these aren't black jobs; these are just jobs. We need to start just talking about jobs, and that was a resonant point. Again, everyone's talking about the economy, and I think they really wanted to hear more about that tonight, and there was a lot of disappointment about not hearing too much about that.
What was their concern about the economy? Are these people? Do they have jobs? Is it the inflation got them too much, or what?
Yeah, it's really the prices. It's the inflation. There was discussions about grocery prices. What's the gas prices? Gas prices is always on the top of mind for voters, even though there's obviously large fluctuations in gas prices, still a lot of discussion on that. So really those upfront issues, those kitchen table issues were like the biggest thing for these voters.
As always, and we learn that every 4 years, we always think it's going to be something else, but that's what decides it. Garrett Archer, ABC 15 data analyst, thank you for taking a few minutes with us tonight. We very much appreciate it.
Yeah, happy to do it. Thanks.
Thanks, Garrett. All right, there you have it, folks. A great debate tonight. You heard it here live on KTAR. I'm sure we'll be talking about it all day tomorrow, starting at 5 a.m. with Jim Sharp and Jamie West here on Good Morning Arizona, the Arizona Morning News. Stay with us all day tomorrow for more debate coverage. Thank you to the entire KTAR team and the KTAR News team for everything as we cover the debate here at KTAR Special Election Coverage. Thanks to our guest, Dr. Mike O'Neill, Stacey Pearson, Christine Jones was with us, and of course Garrett Archer from ABC 15. I'm Barry Markson. Have a great night, everybody. It's KTAR.